Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode. It's the ShopNotes podcast with Phil, John, and Logan. Today is episode number 210, and we're going to do a little recap of woodworking in America and talk about what's going on here at Woodsmith, ShopNotes, and Popular Woodworking Magazine, as well as any personal projects we have going on. But frankly, they're all personal. So thanks for listening. Also want to give a shout out to everybody who subscribes to the magazine and is part of the unlimited package for Woodsmith or Popwood Plus. All of those things contribute to allowing us to be able to create this podcast and offer it free as a public service for all the woodworkers out there. And in order to find even more woodworkers, it would be great if you could leave a review at your local podcastery, just right on the walls of the place, or type in a review. Higher starred reviews are always appreciated. Want to give a thanks to today's podcast sponsor. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit Titebond.com. All right, I'm going to get started with a few comments from last week's, and I should say 2 weeks ago's podcast, because we did not podcast last week.
We had things going on.
Yeah. All right. Alfita158 says, I've said it before. Shopsmiths, transform.
I did get cornered at the WIA event and ask what the deal is with shopsmiths. what our deal is with shopsmiths.
People
we said
won't
it
let
one
it go.
time, and then it just like gets brought up every podcast. It's required. Mm-hmm. The Shopsmith Minute.
Yep.
I think we found out that you could poke the bear a little bit with that, so it's just like low hanging.
Oh
fruit.
yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just like it's a nerve, exposed nerve.
Yeah,
so.
It's like my wife tells the kids, don't react. And you won't get picked on.
That's right.
Right. Jersey Cornboy says, I've been listening to the podcast since the beginning. I listen to a ton of podcasts each week, and yours is the best. Great therapy. You might want to change the name to Wood Therapists. That opening tune is as good as Andy Griffith's shows. It sticks in my mind, makes me smile. I came out to the Amana colonies last year for Handworks and want to be there next week, but the cost coming from the East Coast for those 2 days would total like $1,500 minimum, and that is if I didn't buy anything more than an egg and toast as I walked from the hotel each day. I've heard Logan say he has some awesome cherry slabs and would love to purchase if someone could give me a link to his website or contact info.
I ain't got a website. I'm not that legit. Yeah, we do this under the table.
Darkweb.com/Chunk of Trunk.
Puppy Doc says, every time I work with any urethane finish, it's a struggle and fight to get a smooth, consistent finish. I started diluting with mineral spirits and wiping it on a couple years ago, and I'm amazed at the difference.
Yup. That was from our Nipples of Finish episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or maybe it was a finish with mini nipples. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yep. And yes, by diluting any finish will help it flatten out a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some oil-based finishes can be pretty syrupy. And I've struggled with shellac if it's too thick, because then it just gets all streaky and smeary. Sometimes it feels like if you have really thick shellac, it's like trying to finish something with nacho cheese. Anyway, Walter Rigg says, Here's my seemingly yearly request for the Woodsmith Shop episodes to be made available for purchase in high-definition physical media. If physical media isn't doable, at least make them downloadable.
Does he want? He wants to take him camping with him. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Play him for the entire campground.
Yeah, which I get, but it just doesn't make sense for us economically to create a physical product. And downloadable, we already run into issues of piracy, but I think that would create even more trouble. But I'll check with the internet overlords and see what we can do. Justin Lark, 6951, says, I have a Mark V Shopsmith you guys can have.
Bring it to us. We'll use it. We'll do something with it. That's for sure.
Yep. And then Bruce Juba says, Logan, where's the cat? My wife is concerned that he made friends with the bandsaw.
Oh.
No, his butthole was just on camera a few minutes ago.
All right. That's it for comments. Once again, if you have any questions, comments, or smart remarks, you can just put them on our YouTube comment page, or you can send us an email. Address, as always, is woodsmith@woodsmith.com. All right. All three of us were at Woodworking in America last week. John, how about you? We'll start with you. How about what kind of comments have you had about, from your perspective on it?
So I kind of got thrown into the mix late in the game for this. Our event planners are based in Florida, so two of the three got stuck down there. So we got a few of us from the office got to jump in as far as coordinating registrations and that kind of thing. So I didn't get to mingle probably as much or pop into the classes as much as I would have liked. But just talking to people in passing, it seemed like people really enjoyed themselves and are looking forward to future iterations. But I don't know, just from a logistics standpoint, I felt like there was a lot of things we could have done. Not necessarily that we did them bad, but we could always do them better. So looking forward to getting one under our belt and go bigger and better next time. So sure. I think it's definitely doable next year and look forward to it.
Okay. What kind of logistics?
As far as I really liked the venue and the vibe of the school, but it was built in like the 40s or 50s, and that was before people got wider. So very not that people were wide at the event. It was more bringing in the equipment. Like it was before like ramps were invented and wider doors were invented. So just bringing in like the heavy equipment was kind of a pain as far as that was concerned. Okay, I'm out. I'm done. I'm just digging a hole. No, just bringing in like the tools was kind of because there would be like, here's 3 stairs and now go through a narrow door and turn left. And so like bringing in the workbenches and bandsaws and all that kind of stuff was more difficult than it probably needed to be. I don't know. Just the balance. Because we had 2 classes going on at a time, and there's about 250, 300 people there, and we had 3 classrooms. One was a huge auditorium. One was like a bigger shop space, and then we had a classroom. So if you're splitting up, into 2 groups, either if there was in a classroom, that really got kind of condensed, where the auditorium had plenty of seating. So felt like that could have been balanced maybe a little bit better. Feel like we could have better handle on like the lunch situation. We had planned on getting food trucks or a food truck that canceled last minute, and I don't know. I mean, I'm from the area, but I don't know that area that well to like direct people to the best lunch locations, I guess, on Friday. But we got that figured out, and by Saturday we had food on site and better grip of what was in the area, I guess. So that was another thing that I thought we could improve on. But as far as the content and presenters, I thought that they were all great. And so, but said we could always do better. Yep. It was good, but we could always do better.
Right. Logan?
Yeah, I would echo everything John said. You know, we talked to a lot of people. I recognized a lot of faces either from around here or other clubs or people I've been friends on Facebook for years that I've never actually met, you know. So it was really cool to have everybody in one spot. Personally, I didn't care for the venue a ton. Like, it's great for certain things. I think in my mind, I would like to see our next one in a larger space. You know, we've thrown around like the fairgrounds here. There's a lot of big buildings. I guess what I would want to see, you know, to kind of distill it down is one central area that everybody kind of walks through to get to the classrooms along the perimeter, you know, like in a perfect world. So think of like a big trade show hall where, you know, a room's around the outside. You know, the 4-H building here in town is that way. You know, you leave a room, you're in the main exhibit area. Once your next class is starting, you could see the door easily. You know, trying to direct people where stuff was one of the bigger things. Like, hey, yeah, room C is clear at the very end, or yeah, my sawmill demonstration, go to that first exit sign and hang a left. It's those type of things that it would be nice to have that all kind of in one central spot. And I think that there was enough excitement. And, you know, I mentioned to everybody that I talked to that, you know, I think we're planning on doing this again. And everyone's reaction was like, oh, yeah, like, awesome. We're glad we'll be at the next one, too. So, you know, the next one, I'm expecting that we probably have a lot more people than what we had this year.
Yeah.
I would also expect that we probably have a lot more vendors because, I mean, honestly, that's one of the cool things. Like, yeah, you're there to learn and to take classes and hang out with like-minded woodworkers. But it's very cool to be able to see all of these vendors in one spot. You know, like you can't usually go and see Grizzly machines set up next to Jet Powermatic machines, next to Lee Valley tools. So that also in of itself becomes a big draw, I think, for people just to kind of browse. And honestly, a lot of the vendors that were there were offering discounts and stuff. So it's like, you know, if you had your eye on something, like you might be able to get a better price at one of these things. So yeah, I would like to see, you know, overall this one I think went really well. Yeah. I think I speak for all of us. I was so flippin' exhausted. Like it was a marathon between, we were shooting photos early last week when Colin was in town before we started moving stuff. But then it was a marathon between Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, because Thursday we were moving stuff in, Friday, Saturday was the event, and then Sunday was move stuff out. And it was just an absolute marathon. Exhausted beyond belief. But overall, it was fantastic. Loved it. I think our presenters enjoyed it, which, you know, we really owe it to our presenters, because without them, we'd have a hard time putting one of these events on. And I kept asking people, like every time people come out for my seminar, I'd be like, hey, you know, of all your guys' seminars, which one's your favorite so far? And everyone said every other one. You know what I mean? It's like everyone's like, I liked the bandsaw one. I liked, you know, Alex's. I liked Matt Monaco. He's amazing. You know, it's just like there was no real crowd favorite. I kept hearing that Gary's was phenomenal, as was Wilbur's, which I would have loved. I did not sit in on any other seminars. I would have loved to. It just was constantly running around, checking on people, checking on vendors, getting people to the right spots, make sure people had what they needed for their events. You know, because it's like, you know, Wilbur he's like, oh, I forgot to bring a little set of, or couldn't pack a little set of sawhorses. So it's like I had to get him milk crates to use. He's like, this is perfect. And then he's like, hey, you got clamps. It's like, okay, I got to go find some clamps. It's just, there's a lot of little running around like last minute things that were like, okay, we knew we were going to have to do.
How many half pints of milk did you have to drink to clear out those 2 milk crates?
The drinking it wasn't the worst part. The worst part is that it was the strawberry milk.
Okay. And that you're lactose intolerant.
Right. Yeah, well, you know. But no, overall it was very good. Had a blast. I sent a message to Phil and Rob Boss on Monday morning, like, or maybe it was Sunday. Might be Monday morning. I was like honestly, I don't know if it's that Monday morning was like a high of like or a low of like 42 degrees when I woke up, or if it's that the event's over, but like my stress level, it was just at the lowest point it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. And I mean, to be fair, like I didn't work real hard on Monday either. Like I prepped some parts and stuff for photos I'm doing today. Was just yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Monday. So I didn't work real hard yesterday, but it was like, you know, still unpacking stuff from the truck, and it's like, it's over. But I will say, I would like us to, you know, before November, have dates for the next one, so people can kind of reserve it on their calendar.
Right.
You know, because I think we did not give people a real long runway on this one. I would like to give people a longer runway and start getting people lined up for presenting. So,
yeah, that would be cool.
The other thing that I was like kind of shocked about was the enthusiasm for the open house we had here. Like we kind of talked about on Thursday afternoon, like, how many people of this, you know, 250 people do you think will show up? And we're like, I don't know, 25, maybe 50 at the most. And I got here late and I could not find parking anywhere.
No.
And it was probably over 100, wouldn't you say? Or I don't know. There was people.
I would say I don't know how many people, you know, came and left, or people came later, you know, but there was a big group of people here in the video studio that I was talking to for quite a while. It turned into like a Q&A session in here. And then I was talking to Chris and Mark in the shop, and they had a big group of people in the shop. And I was
like, you know, we've been moving stuff all day. I'm like, I'm going to go shower before the open house, because we have locker room there. I get there's like 1,000 people there. I'm like, well, I'm just going to be awkward to go take a shower.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I had thought that I would just kind of mill around and talk to people and show them different parts of the whatever, but I ended up kind of camping out here in the studio.
A mini seminar on your router table that you got going on.
I did. It was kind of funny because it was just like, I don't even know how it got started. Somebody had asked about projects or something, and then I talked about a router table that Chris did from the last issue, or the current issue of Woodsmith, and then I'm making a version of it myself, and then I had them side by side here in the studio, and then people were looking at that, and then it was just like one question after another about all kinds of stuff. So it was super cool. And that's how my weekend ended up is, you know, like I was helping out, trying to make sure everybody presenter wise had the stuff they need, was answering some questions with exhibitors, but then it was, you know, couldn't walk 10 feet without, you know, talking to somebody else and answering questions and chit-chatting. All good. It was tons of fun. That's what I expected it to be. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was. I will say, and I don't know if you guys share this or not, it went better than I expected.
I would agree with that. Because I think that's a lot of the stress, is that you're just hoping people enjoy it and it goes smoothly. And I think that was overall a success and took kind of some of the stress off after we got through the initial like registration and got going.
The Friday morning was a little bit unusual in the sense, because like you said, John, there's the big rush at registration, and then all the rooms are unfamiliar to everybody. You know, like what's room A, what's room C, what's room B, But by the afternoon, everybody kind of found their groove. And then Saturday was cake. So, yeah. I would have because we brought over 4 workbenches from here and a lathe, and I was honestly shocked that we had such a challenge in getting workbenches into classrooms, that the doors were that narrow. Because
I didn't even help move them into classrooms. I didn't think about the doors of the classrooms.
Yeah, we had to take vices off of several of the benches to get them into a classroom. I think actually only one of the benches went into the normal classroom, and then the other ones was, like bumping it downstairs or wheeling it through the auditorium. That wasn't so hard. It was just more mileage than anything. But like John said, the narrowness. I kind of like the venue setup in the fact that we were all relatively close together. The other thing that I liked about it is that it had a little bit of personality, because like to me, convention hall trade shows are just, I don't know, it's a bland space that doesn't contribute much atmosphere to an event.
We'd kind of talked about when we looked at this space in 2020, it was just like really leaning into the fact that it's a school and having the food service people dress up like lunch ladies and have the bells and announcements and use of the lockers. And that would have been probably pretty cool if we would have, kind of planned for that out. But it's a cool space, but it's hard to kind of maneuver, like I said, around some of the narrow doorways and steps. And
I guess my bigger thing with like a larger open space that makes it more appealing to me for something like this is generally it's a much brighter, lighter space. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The hallways and stuff and the classrooms are kind of dark, and it's just personal preference.
Yeah, no, I would agree. All of that's fair. Like I said, it was just, and I think you and I, Logan, have talked about, you had mentioned it, the 4-H building out at the fairgrounds, I think has a lot of what we would look for in a place that still has some personality of its own, but can accommodate what we're looking for in terms of open space versus classroom space.
Yeah.
And
because that's hard to, that's hard to find.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because we're not doing a trade show in the sense where we have to have, tools and benches and stuff like that. So
we don't need 300,000 square feet.
Right.
We need like 30,000.
Yeah.
So
special thanks to our sponsor for today's episode. You want a glue that you can trust, and fortunately, Titebond has the glue you need to get the job done with confidence. From interior glues with strong initial tack and short clamp time to exterior glues with exceptional strength and water resistance, look to Titebond, the right glue for your next project. For more information, visit titebond.com. But
no, it's fun. We had people from all over.
Right.
Like seriously all over. I talked to people from Washington. There was a guy that was super interested in the Logasol sawmill because he's been looking at them. He was from, I think, Washington State or Oregon. I know there was a family, like a dad, a son, and a grandson that traveled in from like Montana. Or Wyoming, or something like that.
Yep.
We had people from Maine. I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah. Quite a few from Texas, or there was a handful from Texas that I ended up chatting with. And I was surprised how many people from out of state had been here for our 2019 event and came up and talked to me.
Yep. Yeah. I sold the walnut that I milled on Friday's seminar to a gentleman from South Dakota because he's like, we don't have walnut. I'm like, okay.
All right.
Out on the frozen tundra of the Dakotas.
Nope. I got sagebrush.
I mean, pretty soon it'll be frozen. It's mid-October here, so
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So now that you've run the mill for several demos,
Yep.
what do you think of it?
I think it is a phenomenal mill. So
yeah,
I say this. There are a few things that I need to adjust. I was telling you guys, because we put it together on video. It was a quick get it together for this event. Run it here. For a dozen logs or so to make sure that I knew what was going on with it. Which I didn't tell you guys. The second demo I did. So I did one on Friday, one on Saturday. The one on Saturday, I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get this log loaded up, and I'm going to, turn both engines on, warm them up, and then we'll stop and talk about what I'm doing before we cut them. I couldn't get the power head to turn on. I could not get the main motor to turn on. And I look over at Jerry from Hartville Hardware in Logasol. I'm like, hey, so why don't people are asking me questions as I'm standing here. I was like, why don't you come start this thing up while I'm talking to these guys? And his eyes are like, oh God, why is this thing not starting? I had the e-stop pushed. He's standing there. He's like, I don't know why this isn't turned on. And 65 people are sitting there watching us like, what the heck? And I'm in the middle of answering a question, and I just go, and I knew. So I just stood up, walked over, flipped the E-switch. It fired right up, and I was like, Jerry, I just want to see if you were paying attention. Oh my Lord. But where was I? What were we talking about before then? I don't know why I just ran. Oh, the sawmill. What I think of it. So there are things that need adjusted. And it's kind of like a wear-in period where it's like, okay, right. Chains have started to stretch, so they need adjusted. Hauling it for the first time on the road, some of the frame bolts loosen up. Not to the point where they're jingling at all, but they need retightened. So I'm in that mode right now where it's like, okay, it's been on its maiden voyage. Now it is time to, double check the track, re-level everything, and really tighten it down. I had to order a new section of chain for the feed because I needed an extra foot or so of chain. So overall, it's a phenomenal mill. It is a good. I don't want to call it a step up from the Norwood because I loved my Norwood, which is now living with Puppy Doc. He picked it up on Sunday. I wouldn't call it a step up because they are very similar. They are very, very, very similar mills. I think if I would have put the Setworks and the power feeder on the Norwood, they'd be, tomato, right? Right. It is well engineered. There are a few things that I know that I'm going to modify.
Okay.
The water cap, for example, if the water sloshes as you're driving it, it pops the water cap off. Luckily, it got caught inside of the saw head, and I found it. So I was able to put on. So it's like I'm gonna have to figure out some form of cap system for that. That's not gonna slosh off. I may or may not have ordered a cup holder for the operator station. So I ordered a boat cup holder that I'm going to attach on there. Ordered a little tool pouch that I'm also going to rivet right next there. So then I can put my lumber crayon, my tape measure, notepad, stuff like that. So, there's these little tiny modifications. I'm going to figure out somewhere to put a cant hook holder. So it's just on the mill all the time.
Okay.
There's things like that, that I'm going to continually adjust and monkey around with, and honestly, that's part of the fun of having a sawmill. Or it's like as you're running, it's like your own workshop. You always do these little things that make it more enjoyable. But overall, love it.
Yeah, tuned to how you like to do stuff.
Yeah. And I will say, this is the first time that I have used on the sawmill carbide tipped blades.
Oh, okay.
So I've always used high-speed steel blades. We counted them when we sent them with Puppy Doc, and I think there's 160 of them. I made piles of 10, and there was lots of piles of 10.
They're all dull, but
yeah. Some of them are probably usable, but they just got taken off to put a new blade on. Right. But they're all resharpenable. So yeah. So there's a lot of them. But I did order a box of carbide tipped blades from sawblades.com. Right. I think I ordered it when I was filling up fuel on the way home from picking up the sawmill. And I ordered a box of 5, and the box of 5 was a little over $500 shipped. So they're about $100 a blade. So they're significantly more expensive. Yeah. However, now do not judge me for this.
We're judging.
I got a quote this morning from a Chinese company that makes carbide tip bandsaw blades, either cut and welded to your length, or they will supply them on rolls.
Okay.
For you. To be very clear, I have to assume that is where sawblades.com is getting their blades. Like, you are probably buying a Chinese roll of saw blade, and you are cutting and welding it here in the States. Like, the source is probably the same.
I don't know.
But direct from China, my length blades for this mill were $35 a piece for carbide tipped. So a third of the cost. That's not including shipping. So I asked, what's her name? Susie. I don't think her real name's Susie, but I asked Susie if she could give me a quote on 20 blades or a roll of blades. So, which if I get a roll of blade, I have to order a blade welder, but it might be worth the price. We'll see.
But I mean, rolling your own is half the fun, right?
That's true. That is true. I did pick up from my buddy Norman. I didn't show you guys this, I don't think. Or maybe I did when you guys were here. Norman had 3 full rolls of bandsaw blades at his shop. Okay. He asked if I had a welder, and I said no. He's like, are you going to ever get one? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, good, take this. And they are 3 rolls of, they're full 100-foot rolls of 1/2-inch bandsaw blades that just need cut to length and welded.
Okay.
And we saw a Grizzly blade welder when we were at their showroom.
Right.
I don't know if
that's
you remember
true.
that.
I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, it's $800, so that's a lot of blades I'd have to cut and weld. But
so maybe you become the blade distributor of the Midwest.
No. Nope.
Chunka Blades.
Nope.
.com.
Chunko Blades.
Yeah.
Nope.
Maybe.
So.
No. I don't know.
No, there is a used bandsaw, or there is a used blade welder for sale up in Ankeny that I've.
Okay.
It's like $300. I've strongly considered it. No,
yeah.
So.
All right.
Yep.
So, the way I hear you talking about going to visit Norman and what your shop looks like every time you go to visit Norman and come back. I feel like it's that part in the Transformers movie when Optimus Prime is dying and he takes the thing of leadership out and gives it to Hot Rod.
Spark of leadership, yeah.
Yeah. Comes Rodimus Prime. That's what Norman is slowly doing to you. He's just turning him into you so that 50 years from now, there's going to be some kind of holographic podcast where somebody's like, I just went over to visit my buddy Logan.
and I gave them everything that I got from Norman. That's fair. I'm in the middle of working on a project inspired by Norman with all of Norman's jigs. I got all these jigs that Norman built.
Oh yeah.
Is super. I mean, it's I kind of had a little self-reflection earlier today. The one thing I miss most about being at the print shop was having to figure out issues with machines and fix them. And I'm kind of scratching that same itch right now because I have 3 or 4 flat or file boxes full of jigs for this one particular project. And I can't figure out what half the jigs do. And I'm having to reverse engineer what Norman's done. And I mean, he's told me how he's done it.
Right.
But it's this type of problem solving that I absolutely love. Absolutely love it. And
I can see that.
just because like Norman had a certain way of doing things or a certain way of building this project from a pattern maker standpoint. So like there's patterns for everything. I don't have any of them sitting right here. There's actually one under my computer. Like he had patterns for everything with sizes and everything written down and stuff.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that that's the way I have to do it, you know?
Right.
So, you know, I'm using a few of the patterns and a few of the jigs that he had set up, but then I'm re-engineering other things to work better for how I build stuff, which is super fun.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like a double project then, where not only are you trying to figure out how to build this project anyway, but also kind of entering into Norman's head a little bit to make sense of what's already there. Yeah, I can see that. Because at first when you were describing it about like you missed at the print shop being able to fix machines. Yeah. And yet there's like a drill press like right over there by you. And
I know what's wrong with it though. It's not I don't have to get it fixed to like keep making money.
Just observations.
I know. So no, it's pretty cool. I guess I do also enjoy like I know like Norman has all this stuff here so he could build multiples at a time because he would build a batch of these. I almost enjoy it. I don't want to say I enjoy it more, but like I enjoy seeing how few of jigs I can get away with.
Sure.
You know, like, you know, for example, we when Colin was here last weekend, we were working on these things.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a bent lamination headphone holder. So it goes into a base and then your headphones kind of hang on it. And it's like, okay, we're going to build a form. But then we decided, okay, we need to steam bend these first to make the radius. And then how do we cut everything square? And it's like, well, we just build one form that does it all. And then you don't have multiple. He's like, well, we could build, Colin's like, oh, we could build jig to cross cut stuff or to make the tenon or whatever. Or he's asking if we're going to build a jig for it. And I'm like, no, like we can use that bent lamination jig for everything. So let's just make it square. Let's make it right. And then that one jig, it's the one jig to rule them all.
Right.
And that's what we've done. So pretty cool.
I like it. All right. So now that we're back, we don't have to think about Woodworking in America 2024. And Woodworking in America 2025 is future self's problem. What are you working on right now, John?
Just mostly recovery. Just working on myself. Yeah. No. I've got a couple of design projects going for the ShopNotes and Woodsmith. I got a plywood dresser coming up for Woodsmith. Plywood dresser meaning that it's mostly made out of plywood. It's not all plywood, but just we've done a lot of solid wood pieces of furniture lately. So this one will kind of a plywood carcass. So a little bit more accessible for DIYers, I guess. And then for ShopNotes, I am working on coming up with some sort of innovative idea for a precision, like miter box. You know, we've done several. We have some around the shop that we've done. So something like that, but coming up with something totally different. Not like that. That's the hard part. Is that
exactly like that, but different.
Is we've already perfected it, but now we got to come up with something different. So I got to make an imperfect miter box. Yep. So that's what I got going on as far as professional projects. Personally, trying to do some stuff in the shop, or in my garage, as far as organizing before winter. Winter is coming, so I don't know if I'll get to it in time, but it's kind of become a little bit of disarray between the summer woodworking season and then fall, get to more outdoor activities. So it's a little bit of a mess. So trying to winterize and think ahead, but we'll see.
Okay.
So that's what I got going on.
All right, cool. Logan, you're making the blanket chest. Norman's blanket chest.
Well, a blanket chest is not the right term.
Oh.
Because let me show you the size.
Like tiny blankets. Yeah. Well, you had said blanket chest before, so.
Well, linen chest.
Linen chest.
So this is the size of it. So like it's not big. The lid itself is, I think.
You could fit a toaster in it.
Yes, it's toaster size, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, it's the lid is 13.5 inches long. The base, I think, is 12.5. I have a size written down from Norman somewhere. Yeah, the bottom is 12.5. And everything is 7/16 material.
All right. So what kind of linen are you putting in there?
Well, okay, so Norman actually called it a kerchief chest. So it was like a handkerchief chest. Okay. And the story behind this is that this chest came from Norway with his great grandmother, and Norman's in his 80s. And the original his mother had, and he knew that he would not be the one to get it. So what he did is he took measurements off of it and he rebuilt it.
Okay.
So he has a couple of these floating around his house that he's rebuilt. But then they would then decorate these with something called rose mauling, which is a form of painting, which is very cool. I'm not even going to attempt to do that on this. I mean, if I could find somebody here in Des Moines or Iowa that does it, I would probably pay to have it done on this just for the photos. But it's very cool. It's a very elaborate type of decoration and paint. Which is pretty cool. So
you got to check with the Vesterheim Museum up in Decorah.
Yes,
they do classes on rose mauling.
There is a lady that teaches at the Vesterheim, and I thought about emailing her. I don't know how quickly she could get it done though, which would be the real question.
Right.
So, but very cool. I will send Phil a few photos of the rose mauling to put on the show notes page that Norman and his wife Roberta have had done, because there's been a few other projects that Norman's done they've had rose mauling done on them, which are, I mean, it's just a very cool type of painting. It's definitely, it reminds me of some of the, like, my great aunt used to do a lot of like Danish style painting. It reminds me kind of that a little bit. Just it gives me the same feel. It gives me the feeling of me being at my grandma's house when I was little, and I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but just the type of decorations she used to have. So yeah, it'll be very cool. There's some interesting problems with this chest because, you know, the top has that profile. Right. This is actually a rough one, so it will be perfectly smooth. This has saw curves on the top of it. This is glued up out of 2 3/4 inch boards that are joined with 17-degree bevels along the edge, and then you shape that curve out of those 2 boards. But then you have that bead there, and that bead is at a angle in relation to the surface of the boards that are glued up. So, and this is a complex little thing. I just finished because this one has 2 sets of dados on the inside of the lid, which this one is not in the right location. This one is. This is to register it on the sides. It's like, okay, how do you make that dado on the inside of a curved surface? So Norman had sent me with a like acrylic router plate that he had made to fit one of his routers. I don't remember if he used that or not. I think he did, but I just modified it to fit on my Colt router. And then this guy sits in there like that, and that provides you your reference surface for running your router edge along.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's like all of these little things, like this little jig here. It's like, okay, we're trying to remember what Norman told me that was for without texting him photos saying, hey, what was this for? Because when we were going through these boxes of stuff, because I mean, he's made these for 30 years. so he had boxes of like the patterns and the jigs and samples and everything, you know, as a pattern maker does. And we were pulling it down, and I pull a jig out like, Norman, what's this one used for? And he'll look at it and be like, hell if I know. He's like, I don't remember what that was for. Like, it has a use, but I don't know what it's for. So
that's super funny.
It was great. It was awesome. So yeah, it's a deceivingly simple little project. There's some twists in there, so it'll be fun to do that and show it. And I'm going to use his jig. Like, I'm not going to remake his jigs. I'm just going to use his jigs, which is kind of fun. It's kind of part of the story. I'm going to have to provide some dimensions for people for these jigs, but
right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That reminded me of one of our presenters at Woodworking America, Alex DeLise. She makes chairs, and there's one chair that she kind of makes over and over again, and was talking about all the different setups that in a way, like, she's organized her shop to make this style of chair so that, you know, she has router tables set up for specific tasks and all that kind of stuff, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, I think if you're in it, so you know what Alex does and what Norman was doing, when you start falling in that production mentality, that's when you end up with 86 routers like Norman, because you have it set up, you have it dialed in, and you know what? It's worth buying another $30 router at a garage sale to not have to reset it up. Right. Because it's always set up, it's always ready to go.
Yeah. I feel like dovetail jigs are that way. It's like, once you get everything all set, just that's the router.
Leave it and
don't touch it.
And always make drawers that size.
Yep. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to spend a day setting it up. So every time
you'll spend a day reading manual once again.
Yep.
All right. I think that wraps up another episode of the Shop Notes podcast. If you were at Woodworking in America, I would love to hear what you thought about it. You can send us an email, woodsmith@woodsmith.com. Put a comment or maybe your favorite experience in there as well. Put that on the comment section on our YouTube channel as well, to make all the people who didn't come feel a little jealous, like they missed out. This is all about FOMO, people. So if you can do that, that would be fantastic for me. If you missed it, what was something that you would have loved to have seen while you were there? So thanks again for everybody who came and helped out, making it worthwhile. John is representative of a group of woodsmithers and popular woodwork folk that stood in the background to run this thing. And it was a fantastic, fantastic weekend. So we will see you next week, everybody, on the Shop Notes podcast. Special thanks to Typebond, who was also at Woodworking in America. If you have a glue that you need for your woodworking, Typebond has a formulation that'll work. Slow set, fast setting, exterior, interior. They also have a fantastic customer service line, technical service. Bob Benke was one of the presenters, and he is deep, deep in the glue. Part of the ship, part of the glue. Check them out. Typebond.com. Bye, everybody.